I'm not my glasses. I sit too close, I can't see.
The recording's on.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling. I've got it.
And the recording. It's not.
You're going in about a minute and a half. So 6 minutes here.
Pop that off.
It's a reminder. Oh, now it says. So red rice cooker today's at 38 minutes, which around says 20, like, hey, 18 minutes to go in, what's going on.
It's not ready, so I'm hoping my son didn't manage to pull it out. We'll see.
Okay, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let's all stand for pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, everybody, welcome to our second city council meeting for 2026. I can't believe time is going this quick. Before we move on to our regularly scheduled agenda here, city councilors, do we have anyone that wants to move any of the consent agenda out for regular discussion? I'll just look for nods instead of calling on names. Okay, we'll keep consent agenda the way it is. With that, first order of business today will be the annual Kolesensky Volunteer of the Year Award. So I'm going to present this and ask for our fire department to step forward on who's going to be receiving this. Cool. So I'll try to speak up nice and loud. But this year, I can't think of a better recipient for the volunteers award for our city than our volunteer fire department. They are putting their lives on the line, the time and the commitment required, the training required. It's above and beyond anything I would ever expect a volunteer to do, yet alone an entire group of them. So with that, the city would like to extend our appreciation by granting the Hubbard Fire District volunteers this year's Volunteer of the Year, or I guess last year's Volunteer of the Year award for volunteers. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone would ever doubt that, in all honesty, from what you guys do. There you go. From what you guys are doing at every one of our events, from the parades, from the food gathering, you name it, you guys are always there. It's fantastic. It's great to see you guys out there. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Good job.
All right. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to the second agenda topic, and we're going to actually have a report out from our other agent, other agency, the Hubbard Fire District. So Chief Carmen, please take the floor.
I'll come up to the podium today. In person, I would say.
I saw he finished that back there and dialed in. Yeah.
So reporting out on January, we had 42 calls for service throughout the month. 28 of those were in Hubbard, 9 was in Woodburn, 3 were in Aurora, 1 was to St. Paul, and 1 was to Canby. So pretty average January month for us. One item of note is on January 27th, we had a hat trick, so to speak. In a 24-hour period, our crews responded to 3 working fires. We had a 2-alarm fire in Aurora. That was followed by a single alarm attic fire in Woodburn. And then later on in the evening, before the 24 hours expired, they had a response to a 2-alarm working fire in St. Paul. So that doesn't happen very often, that we get that many working fires in a 24-hour period. So we sent tenders and engines to all of them. So a good turnout from our guys.
The geographical dispersion on that too. I mean, that's not relatively close all of them.
We did 215 hours of training. That included a live fire training that we went to Silverton and did. So we got a lot of experience, especially for some of the newer or less experienced members. One last thing I'll leave you guys with, we're having a push-in ceremony for our new engine on Monday, the 16th. It'll be at the fire station, 3161 2nd Street at 7 p.m. So tomorrow it's getting graphics put on it. And then we're just waiting for a radio to come. We'll get it programmed and installed, and then you'll see us responding in a red engine after that. So maybe Monday we'll have it response ready, but it will be out for everyone to look at and check out.
So what date was that?
That's Monday, the 16th of February. Yeah, President's Day.
A red one.
Okay, that's how, I agree with you, Carl, that's what the fire engine should be, right? Because
Yeah.
it's fire engine red, not fire engine yellow.
Any questions for me?
I know, council, any questions you might have for Chief Carl?
No, just thank you for
You're
being
welcome.
there for the city and the surrounding area.
Yeah, thank you for allowing us to be part of the events and be part of the community. That means a lot to us.
I think, you guys, ever since I've been sitting behind here, you guys have just done a fantastic job of finding ways to just be part of the community. You always have been.
Yeah, I love it.
So anyways, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing.
You said it was at 7 o'clock,
Yep, 7 o'clock, 7 p.m.
and thank you and your crew for what they do.
Well, I will. Thank you guys.
That means the lights can be turned on and we'll all flash.
Yeah. You guys.
All right, next one, discussion, I'm gonna hand this over to Administrator Wade, but discussion adding Martin Luther King Day as an annual legal holiday as opposed to a
Illegal. All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council. Council is being asked to consider adding Martin Luther King Jr. Day as a city recognized holiday. This would align the city with state and federal holiday practices and recognizes the national significance of Dr. King's legacy. And it's consistent with our neighboring agencies as well. So what the staff is asking is for a policy decision from council on whether we should be adding this to the list of holidays that staff have. As far as the fiscal impact, how a holiday works is if somebody works on a holiday, they get to bank holiday time at time and a half. So there's really no other like overtime costs or anything associated with working on a holiday. But there is that cost of having a paid holiday for staff when they're off that day. So I'll turn that over to council for discussion.
Okay, discussion time here, so we'll start, I know Councilor Young had a question, so I'll let you start us off.
How many holidays does Hubbard, allow their staff to have off right now? I don't, I know there's 11 federal holidays. Do we, give Hubbard staff 11 days off?
Yeah, we have 11 because we have Christmas Eve off, so this would put us to 12.
And that time and a half you're talking about would only be if somebody is in the.
It's essential services, so they'll usually a public works staff and then of course our police officers.
We normally wouldn't have that in the our recorder's office or anything like that.
No.
Okay, that's. Okay, Councilor, Steiner?
That basically answered all my questions, so.
You, Councilor Zeiss?
I was just kind of curious about the financials on it again. It'd be the same as what we're doing right now, basically, so there's no more financial impact.
Other than the paid holiday, staff having it off, so there's no work production per se. But there's no overtime. It's not holiday time and a half, or double time. It's strictly they accrue holiday time to take at a later date.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, they happen to be working.
Yeah,
Essential
if they're
services.
working. Mhm.
And, Councilor Pichette?
No, fine.
Okay, from my standpoint, it makes sense. especially this month. I'm surprised we actually didn't already have this as a marked holiday, quite honestly. If there's no other discussion, I mean, I would go ahead and just make a motion that we adopt resolution 838-2026, a resolution adding Martin Luther King Jr. Day as an annual legal holiday within the city of Hubbard and a paid holiday for city employees.
Mine says 383.
Which one is it gonna be? Oh, I got 383. What did I say?
838.
Okay,
On the agenda, it says 838. I have 838 also.
okay, then I'm gonna restate that.
838.
Make a motion that we adopt resolution 838, right?
Yeah.
No, I think you said it right, yeah.
Okay, 838-2026, a resolution adding the MLK Junior Day as an annual legal holiday.
I'll second that one.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay. Okay, we can carry that one forward as a legal holiday.
So what is gonna be the resolution number? We have 383 in the packet and 838 on the agenda.
Yeah, it's 838.
It's 838.
838.
Yeah.
383 on the actual.
Yeah, we're gonna need to update this. It says say 383 on this.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
On the resolution. Okay, we'll update that.
Verbally, we approved the right one.
Yeah, we approved it, right? Yeah. All right, let's move it along then. Discussion on joining the North Marion Tourism Collaborative. City Administrator Witt, I'll hand this over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. I have a brief PowerPoint presentation.
Donuts.
I think we had some.
Hazelnuts.
Are they hazelnuts?
Yeah.
Like a warped donut.
Well, it's odd shaped hazelnut.
Silver.
That's
Can you
different
put it
October,
into
huh?
slideshow? That one, yeah.
I can see it, it's fine from my side.
If it says slideshow, begin, yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. The purpose of this presentation is to provide context to the North Marion Tourism Collaborative Resolution and IGA that is in your packet and for your consideration. So the North Marion Tourism Collaborative represents local communities, businesses, and visitor destinations within the North Marion region. The collaborative was established in 2019 in response to a shared interest among local jurisdictions and stakeholders to strengthen tourism and promote and coordinate across the region. Prior to the formation of the collaborative, tourism marketing efforts were largely conducted independently and by individual cities, chambers, and businesses, which limited regional visibility and reduced overall effectiveness of the promotional activities. Recognizing the opportunity and the cities, so Brooks is not incorporated, but so the 9 incorporated cities and Brooks came together, recognizing an opportunity to leverage shared resources and present a unified regional identity. Participating communities work together to create the collaboration approach. Since its formation, the collaborative has focused on promoting North Marion County as a destination for overnight stays, day trips, agritourism events, and recreational activities. These efforts support local businesses, in particular, Le Petit Bistro has been very active in the collaborative, as well as Hubbard Inn, and we're working with Chipola as well. And this helps generate economic activity within our area. Today, the collaborative is functioning as an independent 501c6 destination management organization, and that was effective April of 2024. There is a board of directors, which I serve as a member on that board, and we operate under bylaws. Additionally, the board is broken down into 3 committees, which have core focus areas. So financial management, which I'm a member of that committee, destination development, and marketing. The Tourism Collaborative has accomplished a multitude of projects over the past 5 years, including the purchase and placement of a mobile visitors center or kiosk, operating a tourism information website and multiple social media platforms, and the creation of an industry newsletter and supporting a shuttle for the Oktoberfest. We've also hosted multiple industry networking and educational events supporting businesses such as the Digital Boost Program, providing Placer AI analytics to local businesses and hosting tours and executing multiple forms of both print and digital marketing for the region. And for example, the Hot Fest, we had a contractor that was paid for through grant opportunity through the collaborative. They were at the Hot Festival taking pictures and taking videos, and we've used that to help the marketing piece for the Hot Fest. The destination strategy is an all-encompassing plan to strengthen attractions, help highlight North Marion from other destinations, and increase visitation, all while growing the collaborative's organizational capacity to achieve these goals. The strategy begins with a vision narrative, which is on the slide at the top. This narrative is meant to be read as if you're standing in North Marion in 2024 or 2040. After the destination strategy has fully been executed, this statement represents what local leaders and members of the tourism ecosystem will likely be able to see and what we've accomplished. The 7 key focus areas listed here have all extended narratives as well. I'm not going to highlight all of those with respect to time, but it will include several accomplishments made by the collaborative that will benefit all participating cities. We move from the vision of success statement into the strategic impact areas. These 4 areas serve as the framework for the destination strategy and guide how the collaborative prioritizes its work. Impact Area A focuses on building the collaborative's organizational capacity, growing financial resources and staffing so we can fully implement this strategy. We'll expand on this further when we discuss the operational funding plan. Impact Area B is centered on strengthening relationships across North Marion tourism. This includes building trust, increasing connectivity, and expanding engagement beyond our traditional partners. Impact Area C is delivered through the marketing plan. The goal is to increase awareness, drive year-round visitation, and position North Marion as a unified destination. Impact Area D focuses on experience, enhancing already existing diversified types of experiences available to both visitors and their residents. Together, these impacts create a long-term adaptable roadmap that will guide North Marion's decision and investments for decades. So for example, one thing that we're looking at, we already have some bike organizations that bicycle throughout North Marion. We're working on creating some sort of tour where it can be just community members, not necessarily you have to be a member of a bike club. You can just participate and follow a map and go to different destinations, whether it's Whiskey Hill or La Petite or some other destination. In recent years, the collaborative has continued to evolve to improve governance, transparency, and long-term sustainability. Member jurisdictions have worked together to formalize roles, responsibilities, and financial commitments through intergovernmental agreements. The structure ensures consistent oversight, accountability, and compliance with acceptable, we'll go with that, funding and reporting requirements. Through continued regional collaboration, the group supports economic development objectives, enhances community visibility, and strengthens the region ability to compete for visitors within the broader Willamette Valley and statewide tourism markets. Alongside the destination strategy, Cross Currents, who was a subcontractor that we hired through grant opportunities, created a 5-year operational funding strategy for the collaborative. Many destination organizations rely on tourism lodging tax revenue. As a new nonprofit, the collaborative does not currently receive direct transient lodging tax for support. While that may be a future opportunity, our immediate focus is building sustainable funding as we establish the organization's legitimacy and capacity. The funding plan is built on the idea of diversifying revenue, so the collaborative can function as a stable central hub for the region and fully implement the destination strategy. Key strategies include launching an annual partnership model for businesses and nonprofits, and securing participation and funding commitments from all 9 municipalities and Marion County through cooperative agreements. We will also introduce partnership marketing opportunities that allow members to amplify their messaging through the collaborative's channels while helping offset marketing costs. Grants will remain a part of our funding mix, but we will be strategic to pursue those and directly support the destination strategy. One thing that I want to be clear is that the IGA that's included in your packet does not require any sort of funding commitment. So as we're working on developing the budget for next fiscal year, we can have conversations if council feels comfortable providing some sort of allocation in the budget, we can do that. But again, this is not a requirement to build funding in our budgets for the city. It's just an opportunity. So I don't want council to think that by signing this IGA, we're making any sort of funding commitments. We also worked on identifying optimistic yet attainable financial goals. By July of 2028, our goal is to include a fiscal budget of at least $250,000 going into fiscal year 2029. Having all businesses and organizations that actively participate in the collaboration contributing to annually to the collaborative. And again, please note the IGA does not make a funding commitment for the city of Hubbard. One of the things that we have already implemented, for example, is Bauman Farms added a 25-cent tourism fee onto their tickets. And that 25 cents per ticket went to the collaborative. So those are the type of funding models that we're really looking at. And then other participation fees for marketing and the use of like the digital placer AI, those types of things, businesses would actually have to pay to use as part of their membership fee. So the collaborative marketing committee worked in tandem with Lookout, which is another contractor that was funded through Marion County grants, which has the objective of North Marion becoming known as a unified destination and having increased awareness and visitation. The plan is categorized by 4 key strategies, which are stated as outcomes. Strategy 1 is North Marion is positioned and perceived as welcoming, vibrant, culturally diverse, multi-experience agritourism destination. We will work to have all the necessary marketing assets, channels, and tools needed to effectively promote the region as a destination, and we aim to have visitors who are inspired to visit North Marion year-round. Finally, our last strategy is to have strong partnerships and a tourism network that can provide multiple outlets to tell the North Marion story. The plan identifies 3 target audiences, which will guide our efforts. including urban explorers, festival and culture seekers, and garden and nature enthusiasts. Some examples of the actions that the collaborative will be pursuing in accordance with the plan include creating a master marketing program calendar, enhancing the existing photo library, designing an illustrated map of the region, creating a consumer e-newsletter, and running niche marketing campaigns through both printed and digital marketing. So as you can see, the marketing plan identifies a multitude of tangible tools that the collaborative will look at to create. One of the projects that we have already begun is the creation of an illustrated map. We are working on print and digital map highlighting the 10 communities and key experience within each. So the Hop Festival will be identified on that map as well, and that's free to Hubbard and to the Hop Fest. That's just something we're currently working on. These will be distributed to the top destinations across North Marion to display in visitor-facing areas, as well as within rack card at key locations with state and digital platforms. While the plan focuses on producing these outputs, we are now adding a measurement layer to track their input using Placer AI, which is actually, it tracks somebody's phone so you can tell where they're traveling to and where they're visiting. We will be able to monitor visitation, lodging, and visitor spending, as well as event attendance. This will allow us to produce an annual marketing impact report for our partners, municipalities, and Marion County to ensure that the tools we create are delivering measurable value to the region. Additionally, the collaborative, through a grant from Marion County, has developed a new brand. So instead of the North Marion Tourism Collaborative, we're going to refer to ourselves as North Marion. This slide represents the new logo that will be on the website and the marketing materials moving forward. This shows some additional graphics or pictures that will be included in some of our marketing plan. So we have the hazelnut, and we have grapes and cowboy boots for St. Paul. We have the sign for Oktoberfest and the tulip for Tulip Festival. So these are just some of the pictures that we'll be using on our marketing tools. And with that, I will turn it over to council for discussion.
Well, I guess my takeaway is, I mean, we've been already partnering. It looks like they're just trying to formalize it with an IGA. I do have concerns on where the planned 250,000 will come from for the 28-29 fiscal year that they're gonna have. But especially since I know all the cities are gonna be struggling with budgets coming forward. But it sounds like they're working on ways to do that. So as you said, this IGA has no financial implication for the city. Just saying we're gonna be part of it, still moving forward. I know from the events that I've gotten to attend, it is working. There's a lot of excitement around it, whether it was the Tulip Festival last year, seeing stuff even all the way up at the Whiskey Hill store. I guess the one, isn't it? Yeah, Whiskey Hill store or Little Key Bistro, etc. I mean, it makes sense. I'm glad to see that there is a concerted effort amongst the multiple communities to come together to identify North Marion as a location for tourism. I think it's been long overdue for many decades. That's my 2 cents. Councilor Zadi, what do you think?
Looks to me like a win-win. Oh, I've got to say, thank you for the presentation.
Councilor Sunny?
I just wanna, I guess, declare possible bias, being the president of the Hop Festival. I know there.
Congrats on being president of it, though.
Thank you. So I don't, I think it's great, but I'm not sure I should be part of the discussion.
You're fine, as long as it's a nonprofit, you're perfectly, we've had that type of discussion here before.
And as long as there's not money associated with it, this is really just a partnership agreement.
Okay,
Mhm.
well then I love it. I've been in meetings out at the Tulip Farm. I think they're doing really cool stuff. And I like the idea of having Marion County be seen as the agricultural hub and all of the things that we represent. So, and seeing La Petite Bistro and the bicycles coming in on a regular basis, it's been really cool. So I like what it's doing.
Counselor Yonah, what are your thoughts?
Sounds like a good deal. I was on the website here while talking about it. And, somebody needs to go through it and clean it up. I went to that From Russia with Love website, and you click on view website. I said, well, there's 5 locations in here, and I know I think it's either 4 or 3 now. But then when you click on view website, it takes you to this gambling website. One play, midnight bonus, 100% jackpot.
Oh, nice.
I think we gotta put some security measures on this guy's laptop, he's gambling up here.
His counselor slips
So
out.
anyways, I need to like take a look and I said, go through the website carefully.
Okay,
I think he gets excited over he's winning. We'll just know that. Hey, Counselor Michelle, what are your thoughts?
So we're calling it North Marion now, not tourism, okay. Are they a government?
so they're a nonprofit, they're not a government, so they are a designation 501(c)(6).
Right.
Which is like a Chamber of Commerce
Okay.
type designation.
Is it appropriate to have an intergovernmental agreement with the non-government entity?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so
That's
the
standard.
the attorneys have looked at this, the IGA have guided us through what we need to do. We went back and forth, is it an IGA or just an agreement?
Sure.
And through definition, because of the type of organization it is, the IGA.
And when you were talking about potential, I guess lodging taxes or other kinds of tourism fees and that sort of thing. This North Main group doesn't have the authority to levy any kind of tax or anything like that, correct?
Yeah, there's a whole process that we would have to go through with, Marion County.
Okay. So like it would have to come from, let's say, the city of Hubbard. We're gonna have a lodging tax in this theoretical world, and we're going to write it out that money is going to go to. Is that how that would work essentially?
Well, so like, for example, Woodburn has a lodging tax with the hotels and some of their Airbnbs.
Mhm.
And so the city of Woodburn actually gets some of that tax, and then their council can say, okay, we want X portion of that tax to go to the
Okay.
North Marion.
Okay,
Mhm.
I understand. All right, no, I don't have any other questions.
Yeah, we don't have any lodging, I don't think we have any Airbnbs.
Well, we talked about implementing the lodging tax when we're looking at revenue options. And really the only one, because they have a Hubbard address, would be Whiskey Hill. And council decided, not to move forward with that one because they're just starting out and they're small and.
Right.
Don't have a tax.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's a lot of work from the North Marion Committee, to figure out how I'm assuming the 9 municipalities will actually figure out a fee in the future. Because obviously the bigger, recipients, I think, of the rewards of this is gonna be like the Oktoberfest or, the Taste of Woodburn, stuff like that.
Right.
Um,
And we
the Hot
had-
Festival's only like a day.
Yeah, and we've had conversations about, especially smaller cities, smaller budgets, very constrained situation. It's really, if the city feels like they can afford something, even if it's $500, that's.
Yeah, it looks like Woodburn's actually carrying the greatest burden at this point. When I read it, it looks like they're doing all the administrative work. Minus clearing themselves of liabilities and other issues.
Right, yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on this topic from council? I would just go ahead and like to make a motion that we adopt resolution number, I'm assuming this is correct. 8392026, a resolution that authorizes the city of Hubbard to join the North Marion Tourism Collaborative.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Okay, that carries unanimously. Let's move on to the next one, the discussion adopting the City of Hubbard Economic Development Plan. Again, back over to Administrator Witt.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. So this document was presented last month There's been no changes to it. I did not receive any comments of any suggested edits. So there's really no other presentation. I'm turning it back over to council for discussion if you're ready to adopt it or not.
Yeah, from my standpoint, since I was actively participating in the initial review, I've got none. I think it's kind of maps out what we're looking to do anyhow. Going around the table, Councilor Michelle, any concerns on this particular economic development plan?
No, I mean, I looked through it, looks fine, you know, updated to reflect what we're doing now in the city, so.
Councilor Young,
Have no questions.
Councilor Stein,
I know, I like it.
Councilor Zahn?
No question, thank you.
With that, anyone want to make a motion or just want me to do it?
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 840-2026, a resolution adopting the City of Hubbard Economic Development Plan.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and we do have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Carries unanimously. Next, interesting one, discussion adopting the Hubbard Emergency Operations Plan. Again, back over to Administrator Wade.
Thank you, Mayor. Julie, is Krista better?
There's a Greg Walsh.
Yep. I just asked him. Hi, Greg, this is Sean Waits.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick, council, before I get started?
Sure. So good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Walsh. I'm the Director of Emergency Management for Marion County. And I'm very happy to be here tonight. This is an excellent step in our overall goal of getting each of our cities in Marion County a new emergency operations plan. So we worked with a contractor using state Homeland Security grant funding to actually write this plan, and we had a contractor meet with several of your staff and working with some of the surrounding jurisdictions as well to develop a new emergency operations plan for your community. The goal here is that if there is an emergency or an event, that we all are talking on the same page. The plans, your plan aligns with the plans in the surrounding communities. So if there is an emergency and you have outside help coming in, they can open the plan. It looks just like their plan. And it's a way of just really enhancing and integrating everybody's response capabilities across the county, from the individual cities to how the county supports. And then we also provide copies of these to the State Office of Emergency Management, so that if they're sending support or if state agencies are coming to support, they can look at that, understand the background and information, understand kind of the baseline response procedures and specifics about your community, and be able to help as much as possible.
I would like to add just a couple things that have changed
Please.
since the original emergency operations plan. Prior, that plan did not have a city administrator role. Now that we have the city administrator role, the role of the mayor shifts to more communication, procurement discussions, and the city administrator role really helps with the operations and communicating to council. So that's a shift in it. One of the outstanding items that I still need to work on is getting an IGA in place with the Hubbard Fire District. So I will be working on that in the next couple months, so that that's in place as well. And then we'll have to do some tabletop training exercises for leadership.
So on this one, I think this is excellent. 2020, 2021, we went through a series of emergencies in the city, from COVID to the firestorms to the ice storm being the biggest. And for those that weren't in my shoes, that was a lot of work for me to try to do a full-time job, and at the same time handling a lot of what was going on during that ice storm, especially communicating with Marion County Sheriffs, Oregon National Guard, et cetera, et cetera. We didn't have a good plan in place that allowed us to really effectively execute something when that happened. And you could tell we were, it was a lot of bootstrapping from securing fuel for the generators. Aurora saw the same thing as well, having to procure a generator just to run their pumps. Making sure that we had effective communications with the public works on what we were going to do with the down power lines that were just everywhere. And as well as even the police department on how we were going to ensure presence out in the streets. I mean, reading through this, it makes perfect sense. Um, that's my 2 cents on it. Go around and figure out what everyone else's thought on where we are on this. Counselor Yonlin?
Just looking through it, it does look very well thought out. It's like it's well put together. Been a while since I've read one of these. But does look well done. My thoughts on it.
And Counselor Pichelle?
No, it looks good, to have an updated plan, the last one was, 14, 15 years ago, so, there's a lot has changed in the world since then. No, so this is great, and the idea that we're, doing something similar to the other surrounding cities, if we have to help them out, they have to help us out, it just makes it a lot easier for everyone to deal with, so. No, I like it, it's great.
And Counselor Steiner, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I read through it. I really do appreciate the unifying what to do in an emergency with the whole local area. I think that that is a very, very valuable. I know I've worked with volunteer fire departments on and off over the years, and the more you train together, the more you know what to do when the emergency happens, the better response you get. So I think it's really good. When I read through it, I didn't see anything that stood out that looked to be a problem to me. So thank you for all the work.
Okay, Counselor Zine?
I read through it and it seems like a really lot of logical stuff here. I'm glad that we're updating things. Things are changing quite a bit in our world lately. I think the updates are really needed and a good idea. I'm all for it. Thank you very much, Administrator White, for bringing it to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would like to really express my appreciation to Marion County. The amount of work that this takes to create a document like this is something that our small staff would not have capacity or necessarily the expertise to create. So I really want to express my appreciation to Marion County to help us out with this project.
I think my only ask on this one, once we adopt it, would be to figure out a next step for what is the expectations of council in the state of an emergency. From the mayor to the councilors, how do we ensure that we've got accurate information? How do we disseminate said information? How do we work with the city departments? You guys don't need 5 people barking at you or freaking out on you. So we need to make sure that if a natural disaster does occur again, and again, I'm using that ice storm as a great example, because that was a nightmare to live through, to make sure that we're all on the same page. And as elected officials, we're here to support you and we're here to support the community. That would be my biggest ask.
You barked at me.
Marky, I'll work together. But again, we saw, that was just a perfect storm that demonstrated, that we needed better. Because when communications went down, I couldn't call anyone. We lost communications halfway through that night. We didn't have a way to disseminate information across the city. We didn't know where to post it. Residents didn't know where to go. So these are even things we could add into our newsletters in case of an emergency. This is what you should have. This is what you should expect. And this is the cadence for updates that we should be giving out and where to go to get that information. So, but anyhow, that's neither here nor there for this OEM plan. So I do like what we've got here. I would like to make a quick resolution and I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution 8412-026, a resolution of the city council of the city of Hubbard, Oregon, adopting the Hubbard Emergency Operations Plan.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, great, we'll move right along. One thing I did notice in there, just say Metcom, are we gonna update that to be wherever our emergency dispatch service is through in the future?
Yes.
Okay. So we're talking kind of, but just, I didn't see Metcom pop up on there and I wanted, yeah. All right, let's move on. Next topic on our agenda then would be discussion on the Urban Renewal District Program. Back over to Administrator Wing.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight's item is for your confirmation on direction for the Urban Renewal District boundary. Again, this is not the final approval. This is direction to staff. And I would like you to provide guidance on next steps. In 2025, Council reviewed the feasibility of creating a district to address infrastructure deficiencies and support redevelopment. The original boundary showed significant impacts to overlapping taxing districts, so in January, council directed staff to refine the boundary. Staff worked with the consultant to develop 2 reduced boundary options for council's consideration. Both of the 2 options presented to you lower the impact compared to the original proposal, but option 2 provides the greatest reduction while still preserving the city's ability to fund core infrastructure projects. Again, tonight, staff is seeking direction on which option, if either, to move forward with. So, option 1 reduces the boundary by approximately 9% because it does include the, high density, area for Bear Creek. So there is a portion of Bear Creek still in there. The total impact to the taxing districts is approximately 7.5 million. The estimated impact to Hubbard is approximately 2.45 million over a 30-year urban renewal district. This allows for a $300,000 interfund loan to take place approximately around 2029. That way we have enough revenue built up in our urban renewal agency that we can show the auditor that we can repay that interfund loan. Option 2 reduces it by approximately 26% from the original boundary. It totally takes out the area of the Bear Creek development. It focuses on core redevelopment and infrastructure areas. The total impact to taxing districts is 6.06 million. And estimated impact to Hubbard about 1.97 million. It also allows for the 300,000 interfund loan to start around 2029. Some key comparisons, again, option 2 has the lowest impact on other taxing districts and balances the approach between infrastructure investment and fiscal impact. Financial models do not yet include anticipated development along Highway 99E or 3rd Street. So for example, there has been discussion about a new development on Highway 99E, which would increase the property tax value of that location. And that is part of this revised boundary. So our revenue would actually increase faster with development in the agency. So we may be able to take out a loan sooner and repay it faster, depending on how development goes. It also does not include, as you noticed, Mr. Kennedy placed a sign for a new structure to go in along 3rd Street. So that's not included in these estimates. These are very conservative estimates. So all of this could move faster and we would get higher revenue in the urban renewal agency upon development of some of these locations. So again, the decision before council, option A, select a boundary option and direct staff to proceed. Option B, place the project on hold. Option C, provide alternative direction. So if council decides on option A, we will finalize the boundary maps and legal descriptions, prepare agency formation documents, develop the interfund loan terms, identify and prioritize infrastructure projects, and conduct public outreach and required notices, and return to council with ordinances and resolution for final approval of the boundary and the agency. So with that, I'll turn it back over to council for discussion.
First question I would have for staff for option 1 or 2.
Which one do I prefer?
Yeah, which one is the recommendation coming from staff?
Technically, I'm not supposed to make a recommendation.
So the way I look at it is we still need to, I'm still in favor of the urban renewal district. that is gonna be the way we're gonna be able to drive infrastructure updates. I do agree with reducing the boundaries. I like the idea of keeping the Bear Creek potential high residency one in there. But at the same time excluding the potential Bear Creek single residencies and or multi-home area. Because we do need that revenue to come in to support public works. We're gonna need that to come in to support the police department and of course the increased demands on the services of our administrative department. So I mean, if I had one, I would rather go with that option one, in my opinion. I think option two is gonna strip it back too far. And I think, even though you believe we can pull the 300,000 K loan out in 29 timeframe from that, as you said, it's very conservative, but I think it's optimistic that we probably will see that with the option two. I'm trying to keep these all clear in my head. That's my opinion, and only my opinion. So Councilor Zadi, what is your thoughts?
Had the same kind of, feelings about the Bear Creek deal. I think option one probably would be the way I would go. Thank you,
Okay.
Sean.
What's your thoughts, Councilor Steiger?
My question on the 300,000 loan, does that mean that money's sort of like in holding until 2029 when we can use it? Or will we still be able to use it for road repairs prior?
So the money's in our street construction fund now. It would just be, we would be prioritizing infrastructure projects along areas within the boundary only. So when you look at, say D Street, that wouldn't be included in the boundaries. So none of that money would be used for street improvements on D Street. We would have to, I would work with our public works superintendent to figure out how we would fund portions of that, but right now that money is sitting in our street construction fund.
Right, so I guess the way I understand it, and tell me if I'm wrong, is right now we have a fund with the 300,000 that we could potentially use for street repairs now. If we use it in this loan capacity, does that mean we're gonna hold on to it till 2029 and then loan it to the thing and then use it? And we're pushing that out 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, I think even with the urban renewal district, I'm still concerned with the reduced tax money availability completely, so. Answer the questions for now.
Not a problem. What do you, Councilor Yama?
Given what we have, I have very similar concerns as, reducing our taxable base, but we do, at the same time, need to somehow generate, more construction. We're in this bind where, growth is kind of our only option when it comes to increasing tax revenue. I was reading up on that again today. Just it's difficult in the state of Oregon to not develop and survive as a community. So, I would be looking at option two, keeping, I'm sorry, I apologize. Option one, keeping Bear Creek, at least some of Bear Creek in there.
Give you, Councilor Deschamps.
Well, we've kicked this can quite a bit down the road over the last 6 months or so. And I hate to kick it again, but I'm looking at the next agenda item is a 5-year forecast, 5-year financial forecast for the city. And I know we're meeting in 2 weeks to discuss sort of goal setting for the next, 5 to 10 years within the city as well. So in my mind, I would feel more comfortable addressing the urban renewal thing after those. After we kind of establish, what's our 5-year plan for financially? What kind of goals are we gonna have for the city moving forward? I think we would just have a little bit clearer picture of what we want to do at that point. I do like the idea of option one, potentially. I want to keep the Bear Creek in there. Someday it's gonna happen, I think. I hope. I want a little bit more information and a little bit more discussion on some of these other things before we move forward, but that's just my opinion.
That's a great opinion though, because we do have the discussion on the 5-year in a second. Next week or 2 weeks from now, we do have a goal setting session, so I think I think it's reasonable to move this and just have it as an agenda topic, move it back into the March council session. And let's revisit it then, once we get a chance to at least analyze, go through this 5-year statement, which it's a nice, scary one, but you know, it's a good one to read. And also figure out where we want to take the city on after our work session in 2 weeks. Can we get general consensus on council for that?
One more month.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's not gonna kill it, or it's not gonna damage anything, so.
Well, I do have to say, so, council, we are gonna have to have a final decision in March because we're starting to run out of time. If the agency has to follow the same budget development process as our normal fiscal year 27 budget process, or we can't move forward. And we still have to provide noticing to the taxing districts that are impacted by this, so, we have to have a final decision at the March meeting.
Makes sense. Okay, put the stake in the ground in March.
There it is.
Not that I haven't had dinner. or anything,
Sorry.
you know. I don't think you need to apologize at all. I think that's a very prudent point, especially again, because the next agenda topic here and the next month or in 2 weeks, we're gonna be meeting for a work session. So with that, let's move on to the next interesting topic. I'll again hand this over to Administrator Wake to talk about the 5-year financial forecast.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. Okay, the intent of the forecast is to project the financial position of primary operating funds based on current service levels and conservative assumptions. The forecast sets the stage for the annual budget development process and aids staff and the budget committee and city council in establishing policies and priorities to allocate resources appropriately. To enhance the accuracy of the projections, factors are identified that contribute to the changes in revenues and expenditures, such as development, policy decisions, inflation, any collective bargaining decisions that have been made with the Hubbard Police Officers Association, interest rates, and known future events that will impact operations. Not working.
See, I told you, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Just working just a second ago.
I know, right?
You just tell me I'll do it, cause yeah, it was really.
Yeah. Okay, the demographics have remained relatively stable from this time last year. The population, has increased since 2024. And then increased again, this last year. The median, age has increased this year as well. And the household income increased by approximately $10,000 from last year. The population projections that are provided from PSU and Marion County remain unchanged, from the previous year. And the majority of the population within Hubbard still commutes to other areas such as Tigard, Beaverton, Wilsonville, and Salem for their employment. The average poverty level, unfortunately, has increased this year to 11.8%, which is a 0.06% increase from last year. This is associated, we found that a large number of layoffs from this last year have impacted our numbers into this current year. So, let's see, I'm not gonna be able to.
Next one, I got it.
Sorry. Okay, in development of the forecast, Again, I took a conservative approach and, I've ensured that expenditures and revenues are not overstated or understated. Materials and supplies inflation aligns with the average consumer price index at approximately 3%, and professional services have been increased by 5%. Property tax was projected based on the 3% growth rate, which is what is allowable per state budgeting law. And please note, these projections actually include that 19% reduction in property tax from the implementation of the urban renewal district. So, depending on what council decides, our general fund revenue from property tax might be bumped up just a little bit, if not implemented, but I wanted to make sure that council saw what we're kind of projecting based on conversations that we've had. And then additionally, utility costs, conservative increase estimate of 6.5%. I had several conversations with Republic Service and PGE, and they don't anticipate a significant increase like we've had in the last 2 years, but they do anticipate some sort of increase. CIS benefits, I'm estimating a 9% increase. That would align to what we saw for fiscal year 26. And then PERS rates, fortunately, in fiscal year 27, we're going to remain stable, so we won't see any increase. However, in fiscal year 28, we're probably going to see a very significant increase. The reserve accounts that they've had did not hold like they anticipated. There's certain impacts that PERS is realizing about how they were doing their projections and covering that PERS deficit for tiers 1 and 2 that didn't come to fruition. So that gets passed on to school districts, to cities, state, counties. So we'll know more about what those PERS rates are going to look like, probably in the next 4 months for sure. So then again, with budget development, I will align our budget development with the policies that will be adopted in the March meeting by council. And then I will make sure that there's a 10% contingency budgeted in for a minimum general fund, but I try to get that in there for all operational funds, which means I try to make all the funds structurally balanced when possible. As we get into the presentation, you'll see that's not going to be possible in a couple of the funds. And again, like I said, the urban renewal district's in there. One of the things that I'm going to be asking in our work session is for council to identify service prioritization. So if I have to start looking at where I'm going to cut in our budget, I have council direction as far as what services are priorities. So for example, we have to have water and sewer, of course, but do we mow the lawns and the parks, as frequently, or there are other things that you want me to consider as I build the proposed budget? And then also, we have developed a vehicle replacement plan in the fiscal year 26 budget. However, given kind of where we're at with our budget and looking forward, I'm just not sure how we're going to make those payments. So if we do any sort of vehicle or capital replacement program where we lease or we enter into some sort of agreement with a company to make annual payments, I'm not sure where we're going to get that money to make those annual payments. So I'm still working through that on and through budget development. Next slide. Thank you, Julie. Over the past several years, the general fund has experienced stagnant or declining growth in key revenue streams. Property tax is the cornerstone of the city's revenue, and constraints imposed by Measure 5 and 50 is limiting the growth of property tax, which is used to fund critical services such as public safety, infrastructure, maintenance and improvements that are increasingly being deferred, which I actually need to correct that because they're not increasingly being deferred because our public works superintendent is getting deferred maintenance taken care of. And then also strategic and emergency response. Through policy decisions made by council, this last fiscal year, the general fund beginning fund balance is stabilized. And over the next couple of years, I should be able to develop a structurally balanced budget in the general fund. I do want to point out that there's a kind of a significant dip in the beginning fund balance for this current fiscal year. That is a result of the $219,000 that was transferred from the general fund beginning fund balance into the sewer utility fund as part of closing out our sewer bond fund. So that's why you see that dip. But overall, in the next couple of years, we're pretty stable. And then we start going down again in about 3 years. Next slide. Okay, the forecast does not include project funds such as the reserve fund, park improvement, sewer and water construction funds, or the ARPA fund. Projects are budgeted as funding allows in these funds. And for example, like the water system improvement project has been budgeted this fiscal year in both city and ARPA funds, and a low interest rate loan that's budgeted in the water construction fund. All those funds will be expended in 2026. Additionally, the city received a grant for $340,000 to purchase the playground equipment in Romanes Park. That was budgeted in the park improvement fund, not in the park fund that's in the general fund. So I did not forecast those out because those are just projects that happen as money comes in. And a lot of the funding that comes in for our parks and our sewer and water construction funds are associated with STCs and so forth. So, okay. Thank you. Again, the forecast last year reflected a rapidly decreasing fund balance. And we had to identify some factors to help stabilize the general fund for the upcoming years. And again, policy decisions were made by council, such as entering into intergovernmental agreements to provide police services to the cities of Donald and Aurora and the North Marion School Districts, which generated some revenue. Additionally, citation revenue has increased as a result of providing those police services. The second factor relates to the new staffing salaries that are at lower rates than before. So when we look at the staffing at the police department, we've had some employees leave that were at higher salary levels. We have new employees that are coming in at lower salary levels. So that's where you kind of see the stabilization in the general fund. And then as those salaries start increasing, that's where you start seeing the trend of expenditures outpacing the revenues. Also, another factor in the general fund is we did eliminate that position within the administration division. So that ended up being approximately $124,000 in savings a year. So that has helped with the stabilization. And this graph is not intended to make the police department feel bad. But there you go. So the graph identifies expenditures by program area within the general fund. And as you can see, the police department makes up a large majority of those expenditures in the general fund. Parks expenditures are really associated with ongoing park maintenance like mowing and minor repairs. And administration provides support for all city functions, including payroll, finance, utility billing, land use, newsletter production in court, city council, planning commission, and many others, just to name a few. Community development funds, like the city's comprehensive plan, the BLI and the EOA that was just presented to council and approved. Community visioning work, movies in the park, which that's actually grant funded through the Ford Family Foundation and the regional district planning. Again, court is associated with traffic ordinance and citations. One of the things that we are seeing with court, since we have taken on the city of Aurora, is that our court costs have increased. The judge has basically doubled the cost for her to provide court services, since she's now performing three services for 3 cities. So that did increase our costs and reduced available revenue. Next slide. So the street fund revenue in this fund is primarily generated from state gas tax and transportation utility fees and right-of-way permits. This graph reflects the need to use beginning fund balance to support operational costs. This is not a structurally balanced model, and if the state revenues continue to decline, the need for additional revenue options will definitely be necessary, and the general fund will not have the capacity to offset the deficit. One of the things that I appreciate that our public works superintendent has done is he researched that we actually had not been collecting enough money from companies like PGE for our right-of-way permits. So we have stayed steady at $45 for a right-of-way permit. These companies are supposed to be paying $100. So Steve has corrected that, which I really appreciate. And and then also another thing that I will be bringing forward to council in March is proposed fee increases for like our transportation utility fee, right-of-way permits. Some of our planning and building permits are fairly low. We should be looking at some of our comparator cities and what those look like. So there is some opportunity. Again, none of that is built in here. But that will be for discussion to talk about if we're gonna raise some of those fees. And those don't hit like our, the transportation utility fee would. But some of these other fees wouldn't impact our community per se. It would be some additional, like if somebody's gonna build something, that's where they would see the increase in our permits and land use fees. Next slide. This slide looks better. So the primary source of revenue for this fund is service charges, so from our utility bill. And as you can see, the rate study has provided some stability in this fund. And we will be structurally balanced by fiscal year 31. Additionally, this model for sewer and water funds, they don't anticipate any growth. So we know the development on Highway 99, they have submitted an application. We're working through the process. So that's just a matter of time before we start seeing that revenue come in for our water and sewer. And then we'll also have some SDC revenue from that as well. But again, any new development is not considered in these forecasts. So again, with the rate increase, this is exactly what we anticipated, is that we're still going to have a structural deficit for the next few years. And then we start coming out of it because the rate increase stabilizes our fund balance. and covers our operational costs. So the sewer fund is, I think, in very good shape, moving forward. Next slide. This one doesn't look so good. So, this fund is similar to, the sewer fund, in which water rates, and water consumption are the revenue source for this fund. And the fund, has a cost mix of variable expenses and some system infrastructure. Again, this fund is linked to the growth of the city, so while this looks very desperate, with growth, we can stabilize this a little bit. The significant, issue here is the water fund loan that we took out for our water contract. So we start repaying that in fiscal year 27, and that's approximately $77,000 a year. And while we did increase rates, it's just not quite enough to get to where we need to be to stabilize this fund. So, I will be working with our public works superintendent to figure out how we stabilize this. One of the things that one of the assumptions built into this particular model for all operating funds is that there is a 3.3% COLA increase. We may not be doing that. It's just really how, when I go into budget development, what does that look like to get us structurally balanced and be fiscally responsible? The police department still has, or the Police Officers Association still has one more year on their contract. They automatically get a 4% COLA increase per that contract. So I get a little hesitant to say non-represented staff, you don't get anything. Because I do feel like there's kind of an equity issue there. But again, that will be something that we look at, that, you know, we did it this year, the police got 4% and staff got 2%, non-represented. So that'll be something that we definitely consider moving forward. So next slide. And again, major assumptions, again, measure 5 and 50. Cap our property tax revenue, utility and SDC rate study. So new fees for SDCs are also built in there. And expenditures keep increasing while revenues remain flat. Again, the debt service for the police vehicles was paid off last year. However, like I said before, we need to figure out how we're going to fund capital equipment replacement, including vehicles. And other issues is that we need to continue to focus on stabilizing finances across all funds in light of rising wages, future increased costs of retirement such as PERS, medical insurance and utilities, and the need to grow workforce to sustain a growing community. Continue to address aging infrastructure and deferred maintenance, and continue to work to define a plan for a 20-year urban growth boundary expansion. Because expansion and economic development is going to be critical in stabilizing our operating funds. And with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So I'll kick it off. It was a good report. I do appreciate it. I like the conservative approach. We can't plan on things we don't have yet. I do know we do have some development coming down, so hopefully the projections will be better at the end. So oftentimes in the past, when we've had these projections, they've actually turned out better. In the meantime, I know you've already put in place certain things such as very strict control on overtime. I think we need to continue doing that. We're gonna have to look at the budget when we go into this year, potentially cost sharing on insurance costs. I know right now we pay 100%. Again, if we're looking at trying to maintain headcount, or in this case, you know, our current, you know, employee staff, we're gonna have to find ways to balance it out. I can understand the concerns on COLA increases and the equity that goes in there as well. But the other question that we have to look at, fine, if we continue to raise up, then we have to then step back and probably look at headcount reductions
Mhm.
to be able to maintain that. That's something that's gonna have to be thought of. And I don't mean to be blunt, but it's just the truth of the matter. As costs go up, if we don't continue to see some sort of revenue increase, we can't absorb them all. So we have to reduce. You're right, we're gonna be having our work session next, in 2 weeks. We can start talking about the priorities there. And I do know that we have to be mindful of the fact that people are still gonna wanna see that their tax dollars are going to something instead of just PERS and salaries,
Mhm.
right? If that's the case, then they're gonna ask, what am I getting for my buck?
Mhm.
I don't know, you guys are already considering that. The other thing is I do appreciate the fact that we are looking at deferred vehicle purchases. I'm assuming as long as the vehicle is currently running, can be serviced and maintained, we probably need to look at doing that instead of incurring capital costs. Maybe getting rid of surplus vehicles, be a lift truck or something that we don't need or don't use. Or even better yet, Superintendent, Martin Echoes, I'm getting that, has already been looking at ways to reduce fuel costs as well. And that's another area to take a look at is where are we procuring fuel? Is there a more efficient way, PUCs? I don't know. I think you guys are looking at all of those, but we need to be very mindful of where every dollar is going. I already know the department heads are doing that. But yeah, if it comes down to, sharing vehicles, not police department necessarily, but I mean, whatever we can park and not, increase fuel costs, that's better. We also get wear and tear on the vehicles, et cetera. It's a tough reality, but I think, we are looking at it ahead and not being reactive to it. So we're gonna try to be proactive on this approach, and I think that's where the biggest effort needs to be put, and I think that's what we're gonna be doing anyhow. That's my 2 cents. And again, I do want to be mindful that council is aware, and again, I've mentioned it multiple times, this is conservative with no growth as of today.
Mhm.
And we already know there is growth coming our way. Actual growth on the books, not including Bear Creek. If Bear Creek comes along, then yay.
Mhm.
That's a much more, cushion that we're gonna be able to absorb. I'm very concerned about PERS, obviously, that is a huge, revenue. It just consumes a lot. Yeah, and it's not gonna go away. And I think our state government needs to figure out, and it's not for us to really debate, but they need to get their head on straight and figure out where their investments are going. I think they do a lot of feel-good investments and the taxpayers end up paying for their lack of foresight on where they're investing the money. And I think as a taxpayer, that angers me more than anything, because the burden of that falls on the school districts, it falls on the city councils, the people who can't afford it. And, we had this talk back 9 years ago. I remember talking with one of the mayor coalition meetings, with Kaiser mayor, mentioned, soon we're gonna have to give up a librarian, soon we'll have to give up a police officer, then we're gonna have to, it's hurting cities, and it's nothing we can do here. That's just me sitting on a soapbox. I'll be quiet. But again, that is something that just is very frustrating, and our ratepayers are taxing residents that live in the city. They're not exposed to it because the news media doesn't like to talk about it, the newspapers don't like to report on it, but it's something that anyone that's dealing with fiscal budgets in a city or municipality or school district, we're seeing it and we know the impacts. So that's my 2 cents. Let's go around. Councilor Zani, what's your thoughts?
I totally agree with that on the first thing. I've kind of watched that first over the past couple of years. It is kind of scary how quick it's coming up, and I mean, I probably should say that it was a little mismanaged to me, actually. So it's kind of harsh, but that's how I feel about it. I do think we need to talk about this at the next meeting, see what we can do for 5 years. Kind of worried about letting people go, but at the same time too, I understand we have some financial constraints. You can only get so much. So that's about all I got to say at this point.
Yeah, I would hate to think of the worst case scenario of letting people go, and that's, I think, being mindful and fiscally responsible moving forward. We're gonna try to avoid that. Councilor Steininger.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody we could really lose at this point, but, you said that this does include the urban renewal district.
Yeah, the general fund projections, that does include, the urban renewal district
Going
that
into
revenue
effect.
going into, yeah.
So if we were to not have the urban renewal district, would that make a different projection? Would it be balanced?
Well, the general fund is actually balanced for the next couple,
I know, but we're
Great.
looking at 5 years out.
Yeah.
It would,
Councilor Young.
Yeah, just a couple of thoughts here, things I've, part of the, one thought I tossed out before with the health insurance and we might need to, take a look at cost sharing on that. I mentioned that several times over the years and, it's Hubbard. I mean, that's part of the, attractiveness for coming to work for Hubbard is Hubbard City covers, the cost of healthcare, not only for the staffer, but their full families too. Maybe some sort of sliding scale there, on cost sharing. The other thing is, we just did water and sewer rate increases. That doesn't mean we can't go back and revisit that in, in the next, 6 months to a year. And we might need to dial in a little bit, those rates. And so when we're looking at the sewer fund, as a nickel here, a dollar there, adjustment, help those funds out, especially if we're doing up to $1 plus, then, and it doesn't sound like a lot, and it's not much per household, but, on the long run, it is gonna make these funds more viable. I've recently talked to some of our citizens, and one thing that, they don't quite understand is when we get our gas, natural gas increases, when our electricity goes up, we don't get the increase that the residents get, we get the increase that the businesses get. And so it actually is more expensive for us to pay for those as a municipality than the average homeowner does. And I got in that discussion just recently, I think that was actually Saturday, but I had that discussion with one of our residents, and he was, well, how come it's your monthly and it's over $100 a month for me? And I tried to explain to him that, it costs us more when the inflation, when these rate increases hit than it does you in your pocketbook. And so it's just part of, keeping the lights on and the city functioning. So, we might need to make small adjustments in these rate increases down the road. We're not stuck into this for 5 years. We can go back and make those adjustments. And again, I go back to, well, maybe we need to do some sort of cost sharing for what Hubbard, pays our staff as well. I hate to see us just giving them 2%. If our current inflation rates, well, last number I heard was 2.7 to 3%, depending upon which study you look at. And, I wouldn't want to find my buying power dropping. I lived with that situation a couple of different times while I was employed. That's not very fun. So let's just kind of some thoughts out there. We might need to make some adjustments so that I don't see us letting any staff go at this point in time. Down the road, we might have to visit that, but right now, I don't think that would be a good thing. Right, so those are my 2 cents.
Councilor Michelle.
Mayor, can I
Go
I
ahead.
would, so thank you, Counselor Yonley, for talking about the PGE bill.
Mhm.
So just for the record, for example, last year we were paying about 9,000 a month, and we are paying 15 a month now.
That's the same.
Yeah, well, it costs a lot to run water and wastewater. So, yeah.
That's crazy.
but that percentage of increase is just.
Yeah.
66%, yeah.
It's a rate increases, it's bankrupting.
Okay, Councilor Michelle.
Yeah, well, we're not doing anything with this today other than looking at it, but it's very good. This is a good place to start for our next meeting in 2 weeks and then moving forward into budget season, which is coming up. Yeah, I think we'll be referring back to this probably a few times, so well done.
Thank you.
Okay, no other discussion. Let's go ahead and keep moving on. Do we have any interested citizens?
Have one person.
If he wants to speak.
Give him a moment, and if you want to speak, Michael, just unmute. I will. All right, there's,
We
no,
love our police at the school district. They're doing fantastic.
spoken by Crystal Ross to settle.
Yeah.
How do you feel about her?
First is another issue. I would defer to the mayor's comment.
Okay, mayor and or council presentations, one news, we did get this nice little hop festival, thing, that we were able to publish a hop festival program which contained advertising spots for our sponsors. It was mailed out. There were 25,000 addresses in Harvard, Aurora, Woodburn, Jervis, Donald, and Canby areas. Canby, wow. Due to this change, you'll be able to claim your sponsorship on the advertising expense in your 2025 taxes. I don't know if that's a benefit for us, is it?
No.
Yeah.
It's actually, the city opted out of anything that would be seen as paid for.
Either way, this is super cool from the Hop
So we
Festival.
do appreciate the help from the city. Sure.
Well, it's one of our, it's the event, really, outside of, depressing movies where people die and.
I still think Old Yeller should be on draft.
All right, other than that, a quick present update for me, and I'm gonna keep it moving because we're running late. Is I am looking to, at least myself and my family, but I'm assuming I'll look for others as well. I want to spend time this spring on a weekend to go around, and I'll have to coordinate this with the superintendent. The memorial plaques at Barnsey Park along that path are pretty much buried. And I need to find a way, and I'd like to find a way to get those lifted back up above grade level so that those plaques aren't just constantly buried. I know there's a lot of families that probably just cannot take care of them anymore, so I'm looking at just volunteering my time, and I'll drag my son's time down there. Maybe we can get some Boy Scout troops, et cetera, interested in helping out as well. But it's something I would encourage us to see, ask around if there's anyone that would like to volunteer sometime in spring to be able to get this done. It's just something that I think we don't need the city to pay for. This is literally something that volunteers can go down and do. So that is something I'm trying to look at. Outside of that, we'll see here in a second on my general appreciation to the Public Works Department, especially Molly, for driving that playground improvement. Lots of excitement going on there. A great appreciation to our police department and their social media presence. I think they're doing a great job really showing the work they're doing and the impact they have. A great job catching the graffiti artists, if you call them that, as quickly as you have. That's an irritant. I walk by a house every day that I see that their fence was tagged, and it just drives me crazy. Someone puts up a nice fence and someone comes along and sprays, just. Yeah, anyhow, thank you. I'll open up the floor though for other counselors. Any other updates or presentations you want to give? Counselor Zung,
Not for me, thank you.
Counselor Steiner,
I don't have anything.
Counselor Young,
I don't, thank you.
Counselor Michelle.
I just hope that everyone in Hubbard understands what a great staff we have in the city.
Yeah.
You guys do tremendous work. People I talk to are they don't talk about what's going on like with Public Works or in City Hall or Police Department. It's just, no news is good news kind of thing. So thank you all for everything you guys do.
Yes, and I also appreciate the doggy poop bags. Those are great. Best fan.
Yeah.
We in the place.
All right, with that, let's move on to city administrator report out. So we'll start with Administrator Wade.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll keep my update short. So we're 59% through the fiscal year. Revenues pretty much are trending as anticipated, except for license and permits. So land use and building permits, we just have not received any. We had one come in and then he came back and said he wasn't gonna do the project, and so we had to refund the building permit fee. So we're hoping that in this third and fourth quarter, that will change, because again, there are some developments that I know are gonna be in the works. So hopefully we'll see that revenue come up. And then, I have done, some analysis of our fiscal year budget and some projections about where we're gonna be. I'm gonna be preparing, a supplemental budget to move some appropriation between administration into police, and then some out of parks into courts. Court is exceeding their budget and police is exceeding their budget as well, so I'll need to have those appropriation, changes made. And then, I'm working with, the superintendent to figure out if we need to dig into contingency at all, for our water and sewer funds. So I hope to have that finalized in the next couple weeks, and get a supplemental budget going. So, overall financially, things are pretty tight. I did send an email to council, my weekly update about an issue that we have with PERS. I'm still working with PERS to figure out what the impact is gonna be, but there were inaccurate rates that were charged last calendar year. We're trying to get those straightened out and reconciled, but that will be an additional unbudgeted cost. So as soon as I have more details on that, I will let council know. I do have a meeting with PERS tomorrow morning for additional conversation on that, so I will keep you posted on that. And then as far as my reports, nothing significant really to talk about there. We're still working through the Metcom transition to Newcom. And then we are working on the movies. We're getting some positive comments and suggestions back from our community members, so hopefully no one's crying.
Don't yell it, right, or Bambi.
Yeah, yeah, so that concludes my report out. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Councilor Michelle,
No question.
Councilor Allen,
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Steiner,
Question.
Councilor Dunn.
No questions, just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
My only concern would be what we're moving out of parks, because the parks fund usually isn't that built through a parks fee? Or is that just coming out of general fund and we moved into a budget for it?
Yeah, that's general fund.
Okay.
Yeah,
Either way, I mean, we got some great parks right now. There's a lot to show for it, so I'm not gonna complain. All right, let's move on. If there's no other questions, to Police Department, Chief Parisi.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much. I'll just highlight a couple things here, kind of the big things. We completed our first month of providing police services to the city of Aurora, and it went off real seamlessly. The team did a great job, and we've been just really well received from the community in general. As we see people out walking about every morning with their dogs and whatnot, we've been able to really connect with them and get to know folks. What kind of dog treats they like and stuff like that as well. So we found out all that good information, and we've also connected with the antique district and business owners within there and whatnot as well, just really establishing some great connections and relationships. So we're looking forward to the months as we progress. The other thing too was CIS came in and conducted their law enforcement risk management best practices assessment of our department. And so that went really well. We should expect to see their report within the next few months. They're shorthanded and behind and whatnot. So that'll be the reason for the delay of that report. But nothing earth shattering is going to be expected to be seen in that report itself. So other than that, I think that's about it. Oh, we did acquire, I think it was last week, we actually did acquire and receive in the mail our new rifles, our new patrol rifles, which were acquired by that grant through Spirit of the Blue, nonprofit organization. And so that was a real blessing. We'll be replacing our aging rifles, which were about 28 years old. So we're looking forward to deploying those in the next couple weeks as we train on them, zero those in, qualify, and all those good things as well at range and stuff, so. Oh, yes, thank you. Another really exciting, thing that we were able to do too is, Oregon State Police was, just got brand new tasers. They went with the Taser 10 model. Well, they had these Taser 7s, which were only 2 years old to them, but they got a really sweet deal from the vendor to upgrade. So they did, and they went ahead and sent out a notification, specifically to agencies with 25 or fewer personnel. And so once we saw that, I worked with City Administrator Waite immediately, shared that information with her, and she was able to find a way to help us acquire that equipment at no cost for the tasers, minimal cost for like batteries, and holsters and things of that nature. So, and so that's really exciting. So, Officer Montez, who's our taser instructor, will be the lead on that. He already went and picked up the tasers. OSP agreed to gift us 9 total. Even though we'll be having a department of 7 here, once we hire that 7th position, we'll have a couple extra. You know, for whatever reason down the road, if we need one goes down, or if we acquire a reserve or anything of that nature, we'll already have that equipment to be able to utilize. So that's really exciting as well. So we'll be training on those here real soon. Officer Montez will lead us in that, and we'll be able to deploy that. Our current tasers will be end of life here in 29 anyways, so this was perfect timing.
Perfect timing. You looking for volunteers on the train? Michelle says you would love it. All right. The only comment I got for me is, from Aurora, I saw 149 citations. I mean, wow, they're getting their notice quickly. People stop speeding through that town.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Yeah,
I think-
generally speaking, who do we have reporting out to them this evening?
Yes, sir. So this evening, Officer Marshall was in attendance to represent our police department and whatnot there at City Council.
Yep.
And then Officer Yakis was over in Donald, actually. And so all 3 of us have been able to meet our obligations and whatnot too, so.
Wonderful.
And two, thank you, Mayor, for your earlier comments too about the graffiti. I just want to highlight again, Officer Montez worked that case tirelessly in collaboration actually with our school district and our partners there, who were instrumental in looking at the video evidence that we had of the folks that we believed to be responsible. And they were able to provide some information that would let us to connect with those families, and the kids were extremely responsible at that point, moving forward with owning their mistakes, so.
Other questions for the police department, comments?
No questions, just, one thing, it's kind of nice seeing the cruisers going further down 99. I'm stationed out there, so it's nice. Just want to say thank you. You guys did a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Steiner?
What's the approximate cost of a new taser?
Well, that's a great question. So the way Axon does it is they do it over like a 5-year projected forecast. And I believe when we got our estimates, when we looked at new tasers here about 1.5 years ago or so, you're looking at probably about $5,000 a year, just for the new taser itself and whatnot over the course of 5 years. So a $25,000 total cost.
Per taser or for the whole department?
Oh, well, for the whole department. So it'd be, yeah, it would be for like 7 tasers.
Yeah, that's.
So the
huge.
holsters and batteries, we're looking at 1,600.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh.
You have to get holsters and batteries anyway, so
Yes.
that's not a extra cost by any means.
Just tuck it in your pocket.
Keep us awake.
I think we need to get city administrator White one to keep us on budget.
That's why we got 9. We should have 1 in each hand.
No, again, the fact that you guys work so hard and to find those kind of things, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Young.
Nothing specific, but you guys do a great job. All of our staff does. Thank you.
Councilor Michelle.
I'll have to watch the Aurora meeting. Let's see what their reaction is when they see those numbers.
It's just quite the town.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I drive through there every day, so I get it. You know, I understand. No, I long overdue over there, so it's great. I got no questions. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll go on, move on to Superintendent Mark Decker.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I will lead with the Redlands Park project because that does tie into the conversation about the graffiti. During the construction, as you can see, there's things actually going up and it looks really nice. We had, when they shot the rock, it was kind of fun. They shoveled some rock in, but then they had the dump truck shoot it.
I was watching that.
Yeah, and there's skipping. I mean, there's, just some skipping out into the lawn out there. And we're thinking, now they asked Pablo to go pick it up or whatever. And then I get a call from the county saying, we've got some gentlemen here that need some community service.
Oh, perfect.
So our wonderful project manager, Molly King, is going to, we're setting up a date and time, and we're gonna get some rock picked up out there in the lawns out there in the park.
Good. I did notice it was spread all over.
Yeah, we got.
Well, I think you guys will clean it up eventually.
So we found a community project, and so we'll be getting that taken care of. I thought that was very appropriate. A lot of my time this last, since the last time we met is now, I'm really into full-time with Mike, our foreman out for surgery. I'm filling in his spot. And it's actually been a lot of fun and great. The team is working really, really well together. We're pushing forward actually much faster on a lot of different things. I'm encouraging them to think about how can we move forward and save money. One of the things that we're doing, for instance, is servicing our vehicles. And we had an opportunity to pick up 4 sets of tires that fit one of our 2003 vehicle for $10, but they needed to come pick it up. So the staff went and picked it up. One of our local service people here said, this is great. Down on Industrial Avenue for $31.50, they mounted both tires, and the old tires were completely and totally, bald. Like race, drag strip bald. And we now have new, relatively good tires on them for $31. So that's the kind of things, when appropriate, we're looking at those kind of changes. I'm also looking at changes at the fountain. That costs us a lot of time to maintain it because we have to go down every 4 hours and measure chlorine by law. So that means your 6 o'clock rounds is mandatory 2-hour call out for our staff. So I'm looking at ways right now to eliminate that without having to have call outs. So that costs a little bit of money up front, but long-term, you're looking at, that's 14 hours a week during the summertime of comp time, which answers the question, why does sometimes you call to Public Works and there's no one there? It's because they're all off, because they've been working these call outs and hours. So I'm looking at the whole department holistically. And again, with the idea that we have to have a sustainable department and a sustainable city and still meet the objectives and goals of the council. So that's really been a big part of my activities this last month. Besides the Rivinus Park, and again, I'm just thrilled with how quickly it's gone along, and the good weather has really helped a great deal. We got the dewatering equipment in place and up and running, and we've been running it now pretty solidly for about, I think a full 6 days of work. We've been able to fill up 30 yards, a 30-yard dumpster with this material.
Wow.
And that has reduced our sludge now by over 2 feet of sludge, which is phenomenal. This equipment is not only working, it's working to spec, and staff are very happy with it because it's not breaking, for one. It's doing exactly, it's really working.
I'm totally.
But more importantly,
Say any comments.
At the moment, we are using Republic Services to haul it off. I am going to meet with Mr. Hurd of Hurd Farms. That's the Roseburg. That's the only other place that accepts biomaterial. He would like to meet with me tomorrow. He has a deal that perhaps to take some of our stuff and transport it to Eastern Oregon, out to the Madras area, which is really cool because my grandmother actually homesteaded and farmed when it was first put out there back in the early 1903 through 1907. So that would be kind of cool to be part of that, to move material back to be farming again. So I'll be meeting with Mr. Hurt tomorrow. And the other big thing is, we've been working on this UP land sale, whatever. Well, finally, the manager that was working with me went to another position, and the new individual said, "Oh, well, you already have a lift station. You're not in land sale. You're in our infrastructure area." So with that in mind, it's a much faster process because you don't buy the land, we're just asking you to expand it. And it's a much simpler process to go through. So we had a breakthrough and this has been going on now, I think, for about a year.
Yep.
And I think at this point, in the last few weeks, we're actually getting an application in, and so we can get that land in the ability to expand by another 12 by 12.
Excellent.
So I have other things on here, but if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them or.
No, I was excited to see the water treatment plants moving forward. Your proposal's been released, so I do read your report. So,
Well, thank you. Yes, you have a lot going on, but again, a lot of it is, we're picking things up and looking at strategies to make public works work for the city of Hubbard.
the only question I might have is, we are gonna be encountering a drought situation this year with the snowpack.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious. What is the risk at our wells or the groundwater or the aquifers?
So the risk to our wells will be drawdown. And I've seen that historically, the drawdown, the water level in the wells drops by about 30 feet, and that's about what happened a few years ago during the last big drought. The wells were able to keep up now with 4 wells. So we have our well number 1, we're looking to re-drill, and that would be in this time frame. So the other 3 wells would be, if everyone starts watering or start watering the parks and everything else, you might find a point where we are not able to keep up with that. So if that were to happen, we'd have to go to our water conservation plan and do, say, a level 1, which is your minimal level, where you just ask people to restrict watering during the day, say water in the evenings, water in the mornings, that kind of thing. Be mindful.
Looking at a resident right there.
Be mindful of that. So that would be like a level 1 until our well number 1 gets in place. So that's a very good question, Mr. Mayor, but that would be
Yeah, I just think we might want to start maybe communicating through newsletter or other programs to the city residents that we are going to be facing a drought situation in Oregon this year. Anyone that goes up in the mountains can see there's no snow.
There's no snow.
There's just not. And they're drawing down Detroit. That's a different topic for me to complain about. But we are gonna be seeing our aquifers definitely stressed. So
Right.
it's just something to be planning on. And again, yeah, if we see the drawdown happening, obviously restrict our watering, I'm assuming at the parks first. And then start asking residents to restrict watering, et cetera.
And that's a very simple level 1. I do not believe level 1s require public like going to the news media like KEZI or KVAL or Coin and saying, here we're at. That would be like a level 2 or 3 when we're drastically like if we lost another well, that we may have to go to a level 2. But a level 1 is just letting folks know.
Be mindful.
Be mindful, yes.
All right, that's all the questions. Go ahead.
We don't have an anticipated date of when that new well will be drilled. It's $500,000, and so I applied for a grant, haven't heard yet. They haven't announced it, so.
So we have to assume we're gonna be running on 3 wells all summer.
We may very well be.
Yes, hopefully we won't be spilling water out over the water tower.
Fortunately, with the boost pumps, no longer. Our electric bill will go up, but no more free washes.
Or, you know, it could have been a car wash for the police department or whatever, right underneath there.
Wherever we can save money.
Right, keep us on track, Counselor Zadi, any questions you have for?
No, just always happy to see you, keeping up on all the maintenance and the pre-maintenance. And kind of interesting to see that the penal system's gone from breaking rocks to picking them up.
Councilor Steiger?
No, I don't do anything. I might wander over and check out the new tools down at Public Works.
Oh, please do.
But otherwise, no, it's really great to see everything working.
Thank you.
Councilor Ghana?
Just a couple of, one kind of quick, just more of an informational thing. When we do our water drawdowns during the summer, almost every summer, there's a natural effervescence in our water and it looks kind of milky, but it's actually just aerated. It's really, if you let it sit there, it'll eventually, clear. Every year, I have to explain that to somebody. Part two, though, is this kind of goes back to our budgeting situation. This might go back more of a question for city administrator. 2-hour call out. I remember back when we instituted that. So is that pretty much a standard through all the staff, the police department, public works and the front here? And if they have to come in during off time, they're automatically, all staff is automatically paid that 2 hours.
So, and that's in our policy, in the.
I remember when we were doing that, because the police department was doing that as a policy, it was written in, and we went ahead and expanded that to all staff, so, and then that is a policy, so. Do we do that with all staff right now?
Yeah, I mean, admin staff, we don't get called back.
That's rarity.
Yeah, that's a rarity, but yeah, everybody else.
And for Public Works, it would just be the on-call person for that week.
Yeah, I was just thinking, back in the day, if they were in for 30 minutes, we'd pay them that 30 minutes of overtime. Or just if they're in there, for 10 minutes, they still get a 2-hour block of money. I was wondering if that might be an area to revisit as well as a way of saving some money.
Well, we do, so if they get called out and it is a 10-minute fix, we ask them to find something else to do until.
Okay.
Ryan Paul or something.
Right.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
No, I think you're going in the right position or direction, at least in putting in anything that can be automated or whatever needs to be done, right? Upfront cost saves on labor in the long run.
Right, it sure does. Just that alone, you have, the comp time value for staff over a 12-week period when the fountain is running is about $7,600, $7,600 versus the $4,000 automated. And that's just first year costs.
For sure, it pays for itself very quickly. Okay, Councilor Pacheco?
No, something to think about. If you don't water parks, you don't have to mow. Just saying.
And you don't have to,
Guy.
and I hope you don't have to mow dandelions.
Don't look at my grasses. Don't look at this stuff.
You have beautiful grass though.
I know, but I water it.
Mine's a bunch of.
At 3 a.m.
He'll be out there breaking the 2 a.m. in the morning. All right, anything else? If not, great.
No.
We'll move on to the consent agenda so we can get out of here. Consent agenda is the approval of the January 13th. Sorry, Steve, do you have anything else?
No, I'm done, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Sorry, I put my glasses on. I didn't know if I saw a motion up. So, approval of the January 13, 2026 City Council meeting minutes, approval of the January 2026 check register report, accept the CIS sewer grant award in the amount of $4,720 to be used for cleaning the sewer main lines by an outside contractor. That's it.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as read.
I'll make that second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. All right, we'll move on. Any other city business? If not, next is adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone that wants to stay here, say no. Okay, we're adjourned.